Get my 6. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid, the most popular homesteading channel on the internet that usually has nothing to do with homesteading. But today's video kind of sort of does, at least in as much as a gentleman homesteader. So I'm going to tell you what I'm doing here and what's going on. We've been here almost 7 years now. One of the first things we did our first few years here was we planted literally thousands of trees. We planted beautiful, desirable hardwoods, evergreens to form privacy hedges, and almost 100 fruit trees. We planted an orchard, one main orchard, then a couple smaller orchards around the place. Where I'm standing right now in this part of the property, as you can tell from looking behind me, actually about a century ago used to be another homestead, which was absorbed by ours. There's still remnants. You can see the old well house here. Used to be a house up there. There are daffodils that grow in the middle of the woods from where folks planted those years ago. There's a yucca plant up here. If you know anything about yuccas, they live for more than 100 years. Used to be a home right here. So in the 7 years we've been here, we've never utilized this part of the property because it is just inside the woods. You can see our meadow up there, the lower portion of our meadow, which we're reforesting. Part of the meadow, there's no trees growing. We gave it a chance to see if we could get anything like oaks or cherries, or anything really of value, be it monetary lumber value or firewood value, could come up. But all that's been coming up is vines, brush, briars. Some cedars have tried to come up, but they don't get appropriate sunlight to where they even amount to anything. So what I'm doing is I'm going through this portion of the property, the lower meadow down here. It's going to be about half an acre, and I'm going to spend the winter months. As you can see, everything is dormant right now, so I can see what I've got to work with. I'm removing privet, an invasive species from India. We love it though. It's a beautiful bush, and we use that for hedging in other parts of the property. But I'm going to remove that because what that does is it blocks sunlight, where I'm going to, once I clear all this up, I can plant more fruit trees. We have a very healthy, very large, free-range deer herd that frequents our property. They're like buffaloes. They've got this figure 8 loop they do on about 6 neighboring properties here, and they come through here. The figure 8 actually meets right back here. So we're going to help them out a little bit. We might just end up planting crabapple trees. Not very desirable for human consumption, but the wildlife love it, especially the deer, because they bed back up in here as well. So we are maximizing the utilization of all parts of our property. I just see no need to have half an acre down here just growing up in vines and briars and bramble. Yeah, rabbits like that, and quail and grouse. We got plenty of that stuff at other parts, but we can just make this part of the property prettier and more productive. Now, I'm going to be using a specific tool to help me do most of this work. I have truly fallen in love with this Titty mini chainsaw. I did the demo video of this months ago. I became an affiliate marketer. I am an affiliate marketer for Titty. I want to thank the lots of you who have purchased this saw through my videos. I do get a commission when you folks purchase these saws, and I will put the link absolutely in the description box below where you can get one of these if you want them. I'm not required to make another demo video, and this was not about making a demo video, but I'm pitching this saw because this is the saw I'm using. I'm going to show you a lot of the work I've already done. I mean, we had a big maple tree fall here. Had to get the big steel Farm Boss 455 out for that, because it was quite sizable. But for the smaller stuff that I'm going to be cutting today, I'm using the Titty. There's a safety trigger there, because I can work all day long cutting down smaller trees, cutting up smaller limbs with this thing that weighs just a couple of pounds, and I can literally work for hours longer than I could if I'd use my 25-pound steel chainsaw. So really, this is going to kind of be a video where you just kind of watch me work, like ASMR. A lot of folks like that stuff. I'll talk you through some of what I'm doing with some of the stuff, but you know that you never know who or what may or may not show up in the background behind me. So while you're watching me work, make sure to watch what may or may not be watching me work in the background. And always use iPro. So I'm going to walk you through what I did some of yesterday. There's the big maple that fell. I cut the top off, delimbed it, debranched it. It actually fell some time ago. I've been putting it off, waiting for everything to go dormant so I could see better. Here's the small stream that actually feeds into our pond down there. There's the old well house I was talking about. I like to pile these brush piles up because rabbits will use those, birds. There's another big brush pile. And yeah, man, there's some firewood I got out of it. But now we're coming up into the maple, and this part of our property you guys are most familiar with. But you can see the trees in the fields with tags on them. We got 4 of them up there. There's 2 yellow delicious and 2 red delicious apple trees I planted here this past fall. Despite having 7 years to grow, not much stuff has grown through here, even though the upper part of the meadow way up there is very prodigiously becoming a forest. So I'm going to plant more fruit trees through here. So we've got this space here, this area here, big privet, lots of vines. Use this place as a brush pile. Had some giant white pines fall in the past. We piled them up here. But I'm going to come through here. We've got some trees of heaven here, which I think are beautiful, but what they're doing is basically blocking out the sunlight for other trees back there and for that whole area. So we're going to clear them out of there and a lot of the vines so we can plant those crabapple trees back there. This is a stump from what used to be a big giant walnut tree they had here when this was a home place. Again, there's that privet we're going to be taking out of there, but you can see the vines just coming out, choking out the sunlight. It's unfortunate because here's a wild black cherry tree. Would have been nice to have, but the vines are getting it. It's not getting any light. And then here's a walnut tree. We're going to keep this one. This thing's probably about 12 years old. They start producing nuts at 15 years. So by cutting those trees of heaven out of there in this privet bush, it's going to give this walnut, which I doubt it's descended from that. I dump walnuts up here in the forest in the winter. We've got 5 walnut trees down in the yard. I bring the walnuts up to give to the squirrels, so that's probably where that came from. But by clearing this stuff out, we'll keep this, put apple trees all around the rest. It's just going to be a smorgasbord back here for wildlife. I've been using the heck out of this Titty Saw this winter. I have started pruning a lot of the trees we planted in the past now that everything's dormant. Again, that safety trigger that I mentioned earlier is right there. Just push that with your thumb, and when you purchase these, they do come with 2 battery packs and a charger. I want to point out, I just recharged the batteries a couple days ago, and I've had this for 2.5 months, and I've been using it quite a bit. So they do hold a long charge. I'm now able to report more on the performance of this saw because I have been using it for a few months. And I mean, look, it still looks new, and it still works as if it's new. And I'm going to demonstrate that now. Here's a privet we don't need. Look at that. See, and then I got this brush pile up here. I'm just going to add to that. More wild rabbit habitat. Got a lot of foxes around here. Plenty of rabbits for them to eat. Rabbits there at the bottom of the food chain. The only thing lower than them is the grass they eat. So they need to cover. They need to cover to have a chance with all the foxes we got around here. You probably got a lot of foxes where you live too, you just don't know it. You want to know how to find out whether or not you got foxes? Go get some chickens. You'll find out quick. Here's the trees of heaven. Look at that. saw is so awesome, it cuts down 2 trees at once. Did you see that? Nah, I actually cut into the first one before I started recording again. I cut into it 70% of the way, and I waited to cut down the other one because they were connected with a bunch of vines up on top, and if I'd have cut the first one down, it wouldn't have fallen and it would have made a mess. I'm telling you, this saw is awesome. It gets the vines, you see that? You can do everything with this. Now in the past, I would use limb clippers and pruning shears and stuff, and I'm not against those things. They're all well and good, but I tell you what, my forearms and hands aren't nearly as sore at the end of the day after using one of these little Titty mini chainsaws. So we're gonna leave this. We'll cut, you see a tree of heaven here. Is it in frame? Just out of frame. Well, it's going down. See there? Add that to the brush pile. Going to tackle this big privet now. Another benefit to the Titty is affordability. That tree is thick enough to where that job would probably be easier and more appropriate to use my steel 455 Rancher. That's what it is. I don't have a farm boss, I have a Rancher. But again, 25-pound saw versus 3-pound saw. But, you know, I think a $120-ish saw versus a $500 saw. So a lot of folks, especially in this economy, you know, don't have $500 to spend for something they might use once or twice a year, but could probably spend $120 on something they might use once or twice a month. Now, I love privets, I do, and they do serve a purpose, but this one has just become a behemoth. So I'm not going to uproot it or get rid of it entirely, but I'm going to basically just delimb it. And then as it grows back, I'll form it. I'm going to allow it to live because I want to keep it. But this whole mass over here is just blocking out the sun to like the walnut tree over here and where I want to plant a bunch of crab apples for the deer. So we're just going to kind of give it like a high and tight crew cut. Plus it collects vines. The vines are growing all over the end of it. You know, this is neat. I found this out here years ago. Check this out. Just haven't moved it because I don't know where else to put it. This is like an old axle to a wagon. Man, okay, there's been people living here for 16,000 years, Native American Indians mostly, but there's been European settlers living here for more than 400. This is probably, could go back as far as the late 1800s, but I doubt it. Probably 19 teens. 1920ish. We found a Coca-Cola bottle in that creek I showed you earlier, which is right down below me there. Found a Coca-Cola bottle in there years ago that said Charlottesville Coca-Cola Bottling Company, because we live outside of Charlottesville, Virginia. And that bottling company closed down, I think, in 1927 or 1932. There's some history here, folks. Wish I knew it. Yes, sir. Look at that. Man. Well, as you can see, this little Titty cut that sucker down without a problem. Now comes the not so fun part of dragging it all to a brush pile. Half of the top of the Bush is still connected to trees with vines. But let me show you how thick some of this was. I cut this off. This was from the main post here. Look at that main beam. Came from here. This is what I'm talking about. Look, it's small and lightweight, but that doesn't mean it can't do a big job. So I'm going to go ahead, clear this thing up. I've yapped long enough. Yeah, if you saw him, her, it, or they, make sure to timestamp it so other folks can look too. But still working like a pro. I'm telling you, if you got some small to medium sized to not so small or medium sized jobs to do around your place, check out the Titty mini chainsaw. Links in the description box below. I am an affiliate seller, so I do receive a commission. Appreciate all of you who support this channel through my affiliate programs, through your viewership, through super chats. See you for more next time.